Hello and welcome to Watch from Home Theater, our little corner of the internet where we still get to watch stuff together even though we're apart. I'm Clint Gage, and it's been a little while, but we're super happy to be back doing the show again because today we are watching not one, but two episodes of one of the best TV shows going, What We Do in the Shadows. The cast is here for a watch along, but first, before we get going, let's do a little business and get you guys synced up because we don't have the episodes to play for you here on the stream, but we'll be watching the episodes Ghosts followed by Brain Scramblies, both from season 2. They are available from FX on Hulu, so get yourself over to Hulu and get those episodes queued up. If you don't subscribe to Hulu, they do offer free trials to get you started, and we've got links in the description to help you out with that. So go get yourself squared away, get yourself queued up, and that is enough from me. So let's get on to the guests. Here to watch the episode Ghosts with us, Matt Berry, Natasia Demetriou, and Mark Proksch. Guys, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So of course, one of the things we like to ask everybody is how have you been holding up, and where have you been stuck, and what have you been up to? Matt, I know you're sitting in front of an organ right now, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing my other job while during. So I've now comes out September, and I did the next one. So that's what I've been doing.
Just surrounded by instruments this whole time.
Yeah.
And I've been I've just been sitting on a lot of organs.
Cool. Mark, how have your organs been holding up?
Fine, because I haven't been under Natasha at all, ever. So yeah, I'm doing okay.
All right. Well, we can move on to the show now. But so one of the things, guys, that I really love about this show is just how goofy and silly the vampires can be, combined with how smart the comedy of the show actually is. The show never feels like it's punching down, no matter how ridiculous their behavior is. So just wanted to ask you, like, how did each of you sort of find that balance for your characters of sort of smart jokes about dumb people or vampires?
I was very inspired by how dumb the actual cast are, so it's quite easy. You just work from them and how thick they all are and how superior I am to them, and you just sort of move on from that. Guys, can you understand me? Do you understand the question?
My answer's boring, really. It's just, I think with these things, I try and react as if it doesn't matter how stupid it is. That's the only way to do it for me. I'm not saying it works for anyone else. That's the only way that I can make it work.
Yeah, I mean, you the writing's there and it's good, and you just, I mean, for me, it's all just about not going broad with any of it, and just acting how I want to see other people act, I guess is how I should put it, I'm basically
and sometimes
my
you
own
achieve
audience
that.
in the end. I should mention this was Natasha's first show, so we're all veterans except for Natasha, so it's hard for her to be around these veteran actors. So,
well, I guess that's why my character is probably seen as the freshest and most exciting because I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter, and I'm not just rolling out the old thing that I've been doing for years.
All right, well let's get into this episode. So everybody watching at home, here's your last chance. Let's move it right along. Get yourself over to Hulu and get the episode queued up. Again, we're watching Ghosts. It's episode 2, season 2.
Replacement who's going to come and sit here. No. Okay.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh.
Oh, were you gonna swap out real quick?
Yeah. But I won't.
All right, so get over and get yourself queued up on Hulu. Get ready to go. And just a reminder to please leave comments for the cast wherever you're watching. Leave it in the chat section there. If you have any questions for the cast, and I will try to get to some of them or as many as I can while we're watching the show. We're on IGN.com, IGN's YouTube channel, also Cinefix on YouTube, or on Twitter. Use the hashtag WFHTheater or hashtag ShadowsFX. We'll try to get to as many of them as we can during the show. So, all right, I believe you've had enough time to get yourself queued up to start the show. So let me count you in. Here we go. Click play in 3, 2, 1, play. I do typically like asking when we're watching movies what everybody's favorite studio logo is, but we don't have that here. So I guess the question would be, what's your favorite combination of TV rating letters? TVMALV is pretty solid, I think.
I have no idea what you're
Yeah,
I
that
don't
would
understand
be
that
mine.
question. I like. I like the lion that roars.
Got it.
What's
good
that?
one.
I don't know if they have ratings over
Goldwyn?
in. I don't think
Yeah,
they
it
have
works a little
ratings
different.
in the UK.
And yeah,
What, like
You don't have
PG, like PG and 18 and stuff?
it's a different thing on TV
For
here in the
TV.
States, I guess. So that was
You
Right.
don't
Yeah.
have them in the UK.
There was always the
No.
risk that that question was going to fall completely flat. So
We just like channels, and we like the television.
Yeah, and we're thick.
oh, that's right.
This is an interesting scene. I've just noticed that is playing out because we initially went to film that and they had loads of books stacked on top of each other, and then Paul Sims, our showrunner, was like, it looks too contrived, and so we had to wait. Do you remember that? And they had to redo the room. Is anyone with me on that?
I
Yeah, and
didn't
it wasn't
film that
like
scene.
a month. It was about a month apart.
I can't. Yeah, it was like a month apart because it just looked too. It looked too fake. It didn't look
Bit of
ghostly
pony.
enough. It wasn't like haphazard.
Oh,
It looked.
by the time they got it cut.
Which is rare
Movies,
for our show. I mean, they
changed that.
usually get it spot on.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It's just a bit of interesting. But BTS guys.
Yeah,
And this one's written
During
the kind of
this,
stuff we like to get
during
there
this-
and watch from home.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and this episode was written by Paul Sims, who's our showrunner.
I just said that.
Oh. There's a
Paul Sims,
feels
our
like a good segue to-
showrunner, wrote this one.
Feels like a good segue to ask you guys, Natasha and Matt, about talking about Laszlo and Nadja's relationship. And you guys have been married for what, hundreds of years now. But what's it like? How do you keep developing your dynamic on screen?
Those talking heads, we always have a lot of fun with, because I always want to do it like I'm about to say something and then cuts in. Much of it got in the series. It'd always be a case of then she says the first thing. It always made us laugh. I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
No, he'd always start with, and I.
Thing is,
No, color me skeptical. Though maybe it's
That chair to sit in is very comfortable, but it's really hard to hear what anyone's saying. So in between scenes, if you're like hanging out and sat there, I always go to sit on it, and then I cannot hear anything anyone's saying.
to drain energy.
I've slept in that chair.
Does anyone here have any?
Have you really
slept
whole
in every
nights?
chair.
Or
I have actually fallen asleep in that chair. Slept in most of the set.
Yeah, there was
Nandor's room more than ever.
this scene.
have you
this
ever
was
taken
one
a
of
nap?
our-
And
I was going to say, I think this was one of our favorite scenes of the entire season. At least during the read-through,
Yeah,
we
it
were
was.
laughing the whole time.
It was because there's an amazing line where Laszlo
Oh,
has
there's
to
a
say?
fart joke.
Did you let off a...
That is a question that we've
Frozen.
already got. Taylor Cassidy watching on IG and
no.
YouTube. You guys were just talking about sort of alt lines and table reads and everything. Do you guys contribute any to the writing, or how much improv is done?
There's a
How's
lot
the
of
dynamic
improv.
working with the writers?
There's a lot of
It's done.
improv. I mean, go ahead, Matt.
No, but that's I was going to say the thing. It's done on the floor. It isn't done backstage or anything. The writers, it's done that sort of there and then, something there and then, and you know, you obviously say it. If it stays in, it stays in. If it doesn't.
That's Jake Mcdorman, who was in series 1, and he's really funny. You know, like he's quite like a straight character, that character of Gregor, but he's like plays him really stupid, which I think is really good. And I remember I had to act to doing this ghost stuff was really weird, because you have to act to where the person would be put, but isn't actually there. I think, was that right?
No, he was there.
No, that was it. He had his head off. And I had to act to his helmet.
Well, you
This
had
is
to
one
look
of my
down
favourite
slightly.
scenes.
He was there.
This is one of my favourite. Anything where Laszlo has to run because he's really nervous makes me laugh.
They're doing this.
Well, there's also something great about this is like something great about this episode too is the fact that vampires don't believe in ghosts and then are like shocked by the existence of ghosts is really, really funny.
Yeah, I also really like the fact that it's revealed that Mark's character Colin doesn't know his origins.
Yes.
Doesn't know anything about.
In fact, Mark, that is one of my favorite choices that the show has made, to just be like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
Do you have any other
change
insight on
next
that? Do you
season,
have any like background that you've done, or you just really just kind of keep on trucking, just like Colin Robinson is? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really build
Kayvan.
a character Bible or anything.
You got a little binder full of stuff.
Yeah, that's not really.
In this scene, Kayvan, it was so cold.
It's freezing out.
Yeah.
And Kayvan had to be covered in that goop.
Well.
Yeah, so have you guys? Do you guys watch this show? Have you kept up with it, or when was the last time you watched this episode, if at all?
I haven't seen this one.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one yet either.
Oh, great.
I have seen it, but I haven't seen the whole series yet because it's only just coming out in the UK, and I'm terrible with working out how to do links, and I will not break the law and illegally watch it.
It's hard, you work on something a long time, and you're in Canada for 3 months, and by the time you're done, you're kind of done. So, I mean, we've seen multiple versions as we were acting it.
Right.
Yeah, and this could be 4 in the morning. Like, it's you know, you're kind of watching it, obviously looking like it's in sequence, but this could have been done when Ellie is at their wits' end.
Didn't you improvise?
Yeah, I said I kind of just go with the Orinoco flow, and I guess they didn't like that improv. So.
Used a different one.
Yeah. Oh well.
You're quite out. That's hilarious.
Here's another question that's popped up from the audience already, sort of along these same lines. Chasen Harris, watching on YouTube on IGN, wants to know which cast member is the easiest to make laugh and break character. With all the improv and everything going on, is it Natasia?
Yeah. She's a very generous laugher.
I have a simple brain. With a lot of the characters, because a lot of the cast, because my name Natasha sounds like Nadia. A lot of them, including Mark and Kayvan, does it a lot. They call me Natasha, which really makes me laugh.
Thanks for bringing that up.
One cast member.
Here we go.
No, Mark and Kayvan did it.
Did he do it as well? Oh, it's funny.
When you're in the midst of a scene and you're really going for it, and then someone goes, "I don't know, Tosh." It really makes me laugh.
It's real concentration.
Yeah.
So we had these actors that were sort of like the same height and I guess like build as us, as similar as possible, that stepped in so that we could film each side of these scenes when we were being our ghosts.
There's something really great about the idea of your ghosts having unfinished business as a way to sort of like, you know, do something new with these characters too. Like, so Natasha, for your ghosts, just unfinished business is to like do more with your life. Like it's just kind of a fun way to. This is another example of just a really smart thing that the show does about sort of, you know, elaborating on these characters through these silly situations.
Yeah, I mean, it's very tough because that is exactly what if I did have a ghost, she'd come back and be like, "What are you doing with your life?" So quite tough, quite an existential nightmare for me this episode.
Pretty good though.
Yeah, it looks
it's
great.
Good, isn't it? It's amazing. We just had these like strips of blue lights around us, so the fact that they've like, you know, done the Hollywood thing and made it look good.
Well, it all makes sense now, doesn't it? Because it all makes sense because it looked ridiculous when we were covered in the blue lights.
The magic of
the
magic of cinema.
I feel like I'm shouting. Like those people with headphones, you know.
Look at you, Matt!
In your night skirt.
Well, the guy that was my double was much better than I was. He was sharp and on it.
Mark, you should tell the story of the photo they sent out to find your double.
Oh, yeah. So when they send out these photos to casting departments, they're looking for people that look similar to you. And so they sent one out for Natasha and I. And Natasha's was a beautiful picture of her, you know, like a headshot or at a premiere or something. Mine was the crudest drawing. And it was just an animated drawing of a bald man with my hairline.
It wasn't it a Guess Who? It was the Guess Who game. It was the bald from that.
Yeah, it looked like that. Yeah, and it was so crude, crudely drawn. Like they couldn't find a photo of me anywhere, or just ask me to stand for a second and take a picture of me.
Somebody was bound to have had their phone on them that day. Like they could have taken a picture, right?
It was so funny. I still show people that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so funny.
Was there a version of this in the script where Colin's ghost shows up? Because your ghost actually never, spoilers because you guys haven't seen the episode, but you don't show up in this as a ghost.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Or was it just
think that
was the point of the joke?
My origin story is, I mean, these guys had to die in order to become vampires. I apparently didn't have to die to become a vampire.
This episode, honestly, when we read it out, you know, the read-throughs can be quite tense because they're like, we have to fit them in at lunchtime or something. But we laughed so much at this script. It was so exciting because it was like right near the beginning. We filmed it in the first block of filming when we first got to Canada, and I was like so excited. And then it was downhill from there.
It's the last time anybody was excited about the show.
No, not at all. But it was super exciting. Not true at all. Not true. But it was just super, super exciting.
Well, there's so many little touching moments in this too. Like it's a strangely sweet episode, especially like with Nandor and his horse. And
yeah, I remember a lot of the crew had came back from filming that scene with the horse, and they were all like really had tears in their eyes. They thought it was so beautiful. And then people had tears when they were watching my scene, but for very different reasons.
No one's ever been touched by this show. Hopefully,
no one was touched. There was no tears.
Yes, they were. Tamara, who is his head to the hair, said it was really touching.
You've made that up. No.
The horse had gas.
It did.
That's what the tears were from.
Yeah, that's why there was tears in their eyes.
And by the horse, we call Kayvan the horse. If people don't know that.
That does look good.
Yeah, this doll looks incredible.
The doll was absolutely mind-blowing. I couldn't believe it. It was so impressive.
Also, this episode, we usually have 4 days to film an episode, which is ridiculous when you have this many effects. But especially this episode with the ghost, where you have to film everything twice, really was a bummer for these guys.
No, it was yeah, I remember the day we filmed this. I did all my bits in a day, and it was really intense. But this is the first time I'd seen the doll, and I couldn't believe how amazing it was. And it was just controlled by Paul Jones, who's like the FX guy and the special effects guy. Just
incredible guy.
Yeah, amazing.
So that's all practical stuff with the doll. Then it's all.
Yeah, it's actually moving. That is actually a moving doll. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And also, poor Jesk, his unfinished business is just to be heard, and he can't even get that.
No. Although, he doesn't get his unfinished. Although, as an actor, that's pretty promising for series 3, right?
Sure.
It's lit really well.
There's something in that shot in particular where it pans from one room to the other. Like it looks really good, and especially knowing that you guys shoot these episodes in 4 days, that's impressive.
DJ, who is our DOP, is an absolute genius. Like he lights the whole show with candles and these like light bars that just sort of light things. I don't know. He's just a genius.
Kayvan is really good in this episode. He's good in every episode.
Yeah, I didn't realize.
He's really great.
I didn't realize he actually spoke Farsi in it.
Farsi, yeah.
It's amazing.
That horse was like 30 years old, no joke. And right after filming, they put it down in the parking lot with a bow and arrow. I'm kidding, please. I'm joking. But he was like 30 years old. He was so sweet.
Just about the bone.
I remember we had to do an episode with a goat, not to have a spoiler, and they had to get the goat to run through the house, but the house is full of like amazing, bits, and so the goat just wanted to chew everything. And I remember hearing the animal handler say the freeway was gridlocked, and that's why the goat wasn't playing ball, because it was stressed about the traffic.
This moment is another really, really great moment in this episode, because for Colin Robinson to be just kind of disappointed that nobody's taking the bait on the updog the entire episode is such a great little B story.
Oh yeah, I love that.
That was fun.
Yeah.
So where is your ghost?
Oh, he's moved on to the next world.
Did you help him finish his
So Matt, the Laszlo's ghost's unfinished business had to do with your meat hands. What do you think that says about your character?
Says everything.
Says everything. And we do have a question specifically about this scene. Deepak, who's watching on IGN, asks, "What is all that white mess in the room? What did they use for the
It's exactly what you think it
ectoplasm?"
is. It's exactly what you think it is, and it took me a while.
You know that there was
method acting
none
there.
of that stuff.
It
That wasn't there. That wasn't there. They put it in post, and I had to pretend to see a lot of that substance, which was very easy for me because I have a lot of experience with that.
So, Mark, the fact that Colin calls his grandmother Spirit just so he can finally nail this joke.
To be honest, I'm pretty busy right now, so yeah,
And
that
then
was
just hangs up on her.
Yeah, I liked that little twist for him at the end.
Is that
So
it?
how did it?
God, they're so fast.
What did they do? They really move. That's what's one of the things that's so great about the show, I think, is that it moves so
Good
fast,
Lord.
and everything in it is so funny. But what did you think? This being the first time you watched it? Is it
like that?
It's already gone.
10 minutes took weeks.
So we've got a couple other
It's
questions.
because America has. Oh, go.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to make the most boring observation that America has all like 3 ad breaks in shows, which is the most boring observation I could make, and I apologize to everyone watching.
Don't worry about it. I'm glad we stopped and got that, though.
It wasn't boring.
It wasn't boring. So we do have a couple other questions, sort of more general questions about the show that came in while we were watching. If you guys can stick around for these. Michael P., who's watching on Cinefix on YouTube, love the show and find all the characters funny and unique. My favorite scenes with the vampire councils. What other famous vamps would you like to see be a special guest on the show? Did you guys miss any vampires? Because it seems like you got a lot of famous movie vampires.
Christopher Lee.
That would have been something.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are dead. The ones that we would want. So.
I would love Antonio Banderas and Brad Pitt, please, and Kristen
Brad
Stewart
Pitt
and
would be a
Pats.
fun one, yeah. And Antonio Banderas would be great.
Danny DeVito.
Famous real life vampire Danny DeVito.
God knows. Did he? I think so.
He's
Joe
been
Pesci.
working long enough. Statistically, he's probably been a vampire in the movie.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Noonwraith on IGN.com asking, how long did it take to create all of the photos for the opening sequence, for the title sequence?
Oh, we have a funny story about that. I don't know how funny it is. I was back in LA, and we had been done with the show for a few weeks, and I get a call, and it's one of our producers, Garrett Bash, and he says, "Hey, what are you doing this weekend? Do you want to go to London?" And I said, "Sure, of course." They flew me to London for a day of photos, not even a full day. And then the next day I left. So most of those photos were taken in London within it was like half a day, right, guys?
Yeah, and I had a serious, some sort of weird flu, so I spent the day throwing up and then taking those photos. But Taika took
I was
all
very,
those photos,
very hungover. Yeah, I was very. Taika and I had been out the night before. So yeah, I was quite kind of fragile when we did all that. I remember.
So Taika actually took those photos himself.
Yeah, they had to make them look real. They had
Meadow.
Oh yes, that's right. But they took them with they had a load of different cameras, original old sort of disposable cameras and film cameras, so they'd look legit.
Yeah, they were Ben's. A mate of ours, Ben Meadows. He's got a lot of old cameras, So he came down and he very supplied all that, didn't he?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
We've got a handful of other questions, just to squeeze one more in before we move on to our next episode here. But a couple people, John Olson, Joe Cartwright, are watching. They've all been asking about what was it like working with Mark Hamill. You guys have had some incredible guest stars on this show, and then there's a handful of people asking about what Mark was like.
Mark was amazing. Because he didn't look anything like Mark Hamill. So I because of his makeup and everything, I just saw an older vampire after a while and kind of forgot, that it was Hamill until he had his pool cue like that at me. Then I very much realised it was Mark Hamill.
That had to be amazing.
It was. I couldn't hide. Why bother?
Yeah.
Right.
He was very, very, very nice to the whole cast. I mean,
Yeah.
he made it seem like he was a fan of ours, and that was very special for us.
Yeah, he was just
Very
so down to earth and lovely.
Great. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here again, and really enjoyed watching this episode with you. But we have to move on to the next episode, and we're going to grab Kayvan and Harvey for the next episode as well. So thank you again for
Look
being
at
here.
them.
Thank you.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Oh, nobody at home. Hey, there they are. We're gonna move straight over to the next episode.
Sam Miguel.
Cheers.
They're all on.
Oh,
was
look,
very entertaining.
Kayvan's permed his hair.
No, I haven't. I've got it permed. Been very long.
I think it looks good. I like it.
It
does
does.
look
It looks
good.
very
Thank-
good.
Thank you. That was very entertaining,
Have
guys.
fun, guys.
That was so
Thanks.
fun, guys.
Thanks.
Oh, great.
So no pressure, nothing to live up to for this next episode. Thank you, guys. We'll
Is that it then?
Au revoir.
I'll see you later.
Bye. Take care, guys.
Yeah, you press eject,
Yeah.
Matt. You press eject.
Okay. Doing it.
Well, hey guys, you're already here. I had a whole thing planned if I had to vamp for a second by myself, but we'll skip that. Kayvan Novak and Harvey Guillén, guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
How are you doing? So you got to sit in our little virtual holding room and watch that for a little bit. We're going to be watching Brain Scramblies here in just a second, but
Are you in that one, Harvey?
In Brain Scramblies, I am.
Yeah. I thought you're not.
I'm in a little bit. I think that was the first, one of the first episodes that we shot. I think that's when I meet the Mosquito Club.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You guys don't
Of
spend
course.
a whole lot of time together on screen in this
We
one, which is one of the
don't.
things I wanted to ask you about before we get into the actual episode. Is because I think that the dynamic between the characters that you guys play on the show, between Nandor and Guillermo, is I think one of the things that makes the show, like the whole show, really work. So what is it like for you guys finding a balance in that relationship, and what's really a funny and also really pretty tragic dynamic between the two of you?
I mean, yeah, I credit that to like having a great partner, which is Kayvan, to bounce off, because I mean we didn't have a chemistry read.
No, we didn't.
This is
We
This
didn't.
is how I feel for Kayvan.
Yeah.
I literally didn't have a
No,
chemistry with him.
sorry.
This
No.
no, that's not. No, that's not. It could have gone terribly wrong. I could have gone,
It could be both.
It could be both. But I didn't have a chemistry. We both didn't ever meet until the pilot, and to have this, rapport after 10 years of service, and in the first 5 minutes that you meet and you get into makeup and hair and you shoot the pilot, which is like, every actor's nightmare to have like a background that you didn't have time to develop. And I just got, as luck would have it, it was like, kismet. It was like, I met Kayvan and I was like, oh, and like he was so generous, and we try different things. And I feel for me, with Guillermo, I just have to always be on a tightrope with, started as like a kind of employer and employee and assistant, and then it just teetered into a little bit of devotion and a little bit of obsession and a little bit into love. And is it love? Is it, because those lines can get really blurred easily after you've been, with your with your person who's kept you captive basically for 10 years, holding a carrot over your head. Those, Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, so you guys didn't meet until you were filming the pilot?
No.
That's incredible.
No, I mean, we went to LA, Harvey lives in LA, but I flew to LA from the UK, from London, and yeah, I was nervous, man. I was like, because I wanted it so badly. And yeah, I was always so nervous for myself. I never worried that Harvey, whoever Harvey was, whether we'd have chemistry or not. It was just, I think everyone was just consumed in their own anxiety of, I want this to go really well, especially since I love the film so much. I was like, oh my God, like it's the first thing I've done where we all had to inherit this responsibility from something that was already established. Of course, a reimagining of it, but it was still part of the same universe. But yeah, I mean, God, having Harvey is just been a blessing. I think not just for me and for him, but I mean, of course, Harvey is a blessing for himself because, he's so fantastic and wonderful. But I think for the audience as well, that they can really invest and really believe this relationship, this dysfunctional, semi-abusive relationship that might remind people of their own semi-abusive, dysfunctional relationships. We've all had them. We've all been there. So, there's a lot of homoerotic fan art inspired by our relationship. And I think that says a lot about...
that says everything you need to know, right?
Well, yeah, it's...
I think it's great that, we never have really talked about it on the show, which leaves us somewhere to go, because it's just, even when he, leaves the house temporarily, like it's so heartbreaking just because we don't know what that, what is it? Why are you there? What have we not seen? What have the cameras not seen, maybe? So there leaves, a place for interpretation. But yeah, we didn't, and I think you're right. The Guillermo being the only human on the show is kind of like the audience, for the ride. Like it's the eyes to the audience, so they can all relate to the human emotions that he's going through, which is a lot this season. He's going through a lot of different emotions.
Well, and even at the end of season 1, and then again at the end of season 2, which we don't have to get into anything specific about it, but like that Guillermo's story is really what's driving into the next season with both of these, which has been really cool. So.
Yeah,
I really hope they.
Go on.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Kayvan.
So every time I start, everyone stops and everyone's just quiet, and we're like, it's like a 2-second delay.
Also, I've got a 2-second delay on my brain anyway, so it's a 4-second delay. So I'm fucked. Yeah. You just finished my sentence that I already said, but because of the 2-second delay,
I keep looking up just in time to see me laughing like an idiot. So, yeah.
I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because I know as soon as I start talking, a guy with a moustache is going to interrupt me.
Everyone stop talking except Kayvan.
I got to get rid of this mustache.
I see a future. A man with a moustache is going to keep interrupting me.
No. I'm so sorry. It's a complete accident. I appreciate that. But what I wanted to say was, quickly, that when I think about the last 10 years of Nando's relationship with Guillermo. Like, there's so many moments in there that I just want to. I hope we have the opportunity to explore, because I want to see the first time they met, his Guillermo's first day at fucking work, like all these things.
Right.
Come on, I mean, 10 years. That's a relationship goes through ups and downs in the first year, 2 years.
Yeah.
You know? So I hope they
There's a lot
do
of
a
good
Breaking
stuff
Bad
there.
and we go back in time.
Yeah. Have you guys talked about any of that? You don't have to go into what it is, but I was just curious. Have you guys talked about anything like, oh, I bet
On our own?
back in the beginning, such and such happened? Yeah, just so
I
that
think
you guys know.
early on, I think we talked a little bit about. I gave myself like an idea of a backstory of what I thought Guillermo was and where he came from, because you have to remember, up to the first 2 episodes of season 1, he didn't have a last name, and I went to Jermaine and I was like, "Can I give him a last name?" Because in the interviews, in the confessional interviews 1-on-1, like they're like, state your name, and I was like, Guillermo. And I was like, "What's his last name?" And I asked him, and I said, "What's his last name?" And it's like, "Well, what do you want to call him?" And I say, "How about De La Cruz?" And he's like, "That's good, yeah." And he didn't tell me why. That was like episode 2. We're shooting in season 1. I didn't know anything what was gonna happen with Guillermo until the finale, and so they keep us on our toes. Like they have an idea of what the characters are, and we have to give ourselves an idea, and then hopefully it like aligns.
Yeah, that's great. All right, well, let's watch this episode. So we are, if you're watching Lying at Home again,
Yeah, I'm good.
get you. No, okay, great. Thanks for being here, guys. So we are going to move into.
Thank you so much. I have to go.
It would be the second time somebody has hung up on us.
Why are you lowering your camera?
No.
Is everybody wearing goofy pants below frame? I hope so.
I am.
I got my
Pants.
knees.
You guys are wearing pants? I'm wearing shorts.
All right. Well, everybody checks to see if we're wearing pants. While you're watching at home, get yourself queued up over on FX on Hulu. Watching episode 3 of season 2. It's called Brain Scramblies, and you've had plenty of time to get synced up. So let's get ready to click play. I'm going to count you down. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, play. We'll just do that for the next 20 minutes, and it'll be fine.
We have been invited to a highly exclusive event.
Speaking.
We will be spending this Sunday evening at our neighbor Sean's superb.
This is a throwback to the first episode of the pilot, remember?
Huge respect for owls.
What, with the superb owl party?
No, when I dress him like it's like the shot is like the to the pilot.
I do love this. One of the things I really love about the show is how much mileage you guys get out of what's essentially mispronouncing Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know it is.
Like it's a great using that as an A plot is great.
Also, I didn't.
We're not afraid to take those risks, those comedic risks.
Bow, bow, ba-dow, bow, bow, ba-dow.
Bow, bow.
Is this song stuck in your head like it is mine?
Yeah, we have a story about that. Matt Berry hates it when we sing this song on set. So it got to the point where Kayvan and I were just singing it for any reason, like well, they have sandwiches for lunch. Bow, bow, ba-dow, bow. For anything, like it's like, we're running late behind. Bow, bow, ba-dow, bow, bow. Intro to anything, and Matt was like, he was like, "Can you stop?" And so he started.
Why do you keep singing that? And then he started doing it.
And then he started doing this subconscious of pow, 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 pow.
He was sitting in front of an organ the whole time, so he started playing it a little bit before we got on.
I was rewatching the pilot, and I realized that I don't get out my coffin like I used to.
Yeah,
which was doing that. I think they must have, when we moved the set from LA to Toronto, they must have misplaced that contraption that allows us to go.
I can't find it. Also, that scene took forever to shoot in the pilot. Remember, like you doing that. Oh, there's Marissa Jarrett Whitaker. I was so excited that she was in this episode because one of my first Broadway shows, what I got to see when I was in school, was Hairspray, and she was the lead in Hairspray on Broadway. She was the original Tracy Turnblad on the Broadway musical Hairspray. And so when she got to set, or I wasn't shooting the scene because I'm not in the scene, so I went to set to visit just to say hello to her, and I was like, "Hi," and she's like, "Oh my god, I love you. You're so fucking like I love you." Like she was super sweet.
Yeah,
That's
and
right,
I'll
the
be
supporting
talking over the
cast
scenes
that you
that
guys get.
you're not in.
And I'll be talking over you while you talk over the scenes.
Every time I open my mouth, you start talking.
Somewhere along the line, there was an amazing baker.
I blame my internet.
But does that make me an amazing baker?
Yeah.
Second delay now.
A really, really good baker.
The thing with motion smoothing that you have to remember is you want it on for sporting
And that's it,
events.
like the tragedy of Guillermo learning that he is an expert, like natural vampire killer is such a great line for you to walk.
Just in his face, just realizing how terrible and tragic that is.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the fact that you're lying to two sets of different people at the same time. It's just, it's fantastic, man. It's a comedic blessing.
This is the moment
to go
where
with your first blessing of being Harvey. Sorry. This is
Now
the
there's
bit where you're not in. Why
second
do you want to speak?
I was just adding to what you said. I said that was the moment where I made the decision to play two different versions of Guillermo. What he's with his master and the household, and what he's with the crew and the new gang. Like there's just two different personalities happening because he's two different people. So that's where I made the choice, Kayvan. I made the choice at this moment.
Good for you. Good for you, Guillermo. Good for you.
Was that a real bathroom, Kayvan? You guys were in I don't remember because I wasn't there. Was that a bathroom
This was a real house. We were really in there. I'm really smelling Matt Berry's breath at this point. And it smelled very sweet. I was surprised.
Oh.
I was expecting some lunch or nothing. This is great. I think this is one of the, like in the first season, me and Matt never really had any kind of stuff to do together. So this was exciting to see us together, kind of basically just laughing at all his jokes.
I like seeing you guys together.
Yeah, and I love too. There's something great in this episode that really highlights something about Nandor. That there's that like bloodthirst and then immediate sort of naive streak that comes out, or like really kind of innocent, nice guy that comes out in Nandor. And I feel like that those two get played against each other so well in this episode.
Oh, the mosquito.
I would agree with you, but
Veronica.
I love these guys. I could watch a whole series of just you guys being the Mosquito Gang.
That's going to be the hiatus episodes. We're going to shoot the mosquito.
Yeah.
Oh, Craig, so fun. This was the first scene of the season for me. So we shoot out of order, and this scene right now that you're watching was the first scene I shot when I got to work for this last year. So this was my first day on.
Sorry, I'm laughing at your acting, Harvey. You make me laugh a lot. I've laughed at Guillermo so much this season. I laugh at everyone, but I love your stuff with these guys. It's just brilliant.
There was a moment where he pushed me back into that mannequin, and my hand grasped accidentally the mannequin's crotch, and it bounced back, and that material stretched, and so it looks like I was just grabbing his crotch and it was stretching, and the mannequin just fell back. We didn't keep it.
The supporting cast that you guys get on this show is incredible, and in this episode, because even with Anthony Atamanuik that's in it as well, and Craig Robinson, obviously, like so many funny people on this show.
Yeah, and Abby from Orange is the New Black.
Thing, it's all covered. Actually, you're the first person we got to do that cool reveal for.
Is that Abby?
Such a good organ sting.
We were just saying what a beautiful house you have.
Thanks. Yes. We were
So here's a question from somebody that's watching. Joe Cartwright has an interesting question. Who's watching on IGN's YouTube channel. Since we've seen famous vampires on the council, Harvey, do you think we'll get to see famous Helsings? Like maybe we'll get Hugh Jackman and Anthony Hopkins on the show?
I mean, anything's possible. I mean, people were throwing things like Buffy should come and like help you train, and Sarah Michelle Gellar's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I was like, I'm down with it, like down with anything. Sir Anthony Hopkins, like you.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be great. But yeah,
I feel like if Anthony Hopkins turned up to do a cameo, he'd just spend the whole time sat behind a piano with Matt.
Yeah.
And they'd just be doing duets, and I'd just be getting more and more envious. And then I just
let that be the episode. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to like talk.
It wasn't me that time.
I know. Oh God. I just
go. Kayvan.
If I start speaking, is Harvey going to start? Okay. No, I would say that if Anthony Hopkins came to do a cameo, I would just want to talk to him about like the Elephant Man and Silence of the Lambs, and Dracula. Of course, Dracula. I would like to talk to him about that, but mainly the Elephant Man, I think, because I've just read a book about the making of the Elephant Man, and apparently him and David Lynch, yeah, he was not having it with David Lynch, because David Lynch was like, it was his second movie. Anyway, enough about the Elephant Man. Let's talk about this episode.
This is a fantastic actress. She's wonderful. This scene was incredible. I love this show.
Oh, fuck. Oh,
a quick cameo from your
lap-
socks. You
oh,
right?
man, my laptop landed on my foot. I forgot I was attached. I'm sorry. I forgot I was tethered.
Oh my God, that was so good.
Ow.
This is absolutely why this is my favorite show to do.
Oh, this is great. Anthony Atamunk.
You need to fucking stop talking about the sea. We know that you know our
What secret?
And stop talking about the sea. It's those great, subtle little, like, we don't know anything about the world kind of jokes that are great.
Anthony's so funny.
Oh,
and you bumping your head on the ceiling there is wonderful.
Right, I've got a bit of trivia for this scene. So initially, the way they were going to achieve us floating off the ground was they had these two pneumatic poles that had a bicycle saddle attached to the top of it. And it was basically you sat on the bicycle saddle and they would shoot pressurized air, and then the bicycle saddle would extend and make us rise. But when we sat on it, it was so, I don't know where the fuck they got these things, but we literally were moving up at like a, it was so slow and noisy, we couldn't say anything, and they were just like gone. How the fuck did we end up doing it? We stood on boxes and went on our tiptoes.
Oh, you just made yourself float up and down?
Yeah. Which is actually a trick. It's a trick that they used in the first, before they did the film, they did the half an hour thing. And they did that thing where they literally would stand and then just kind of on tiptoes do that through a window. And it makes them look like they're floating. So that was a Jermaine special there.
That was great.
My
I did have another
ankle's
question
bleeding.
about the oh no. That'd be the first injury we've had on the show. I did have another question about the double hypnosis.
It's completely okay.
Sorry, you were saying.
No, it's fine. I I just wanted to know what the double hypnosis scene that you and Matt did was. That did you guys just both kind of start talking and try to sync up a little bit, or was any of that scripted? Or
It was actually scripted that we should talk at the same time. So then we did.
Got it.
And that's what you see.
And,
Yeah, there you go. And it's
and
great.
Kyle directed.
Down,
this
down, down,
episode.
Yeah, Kyle Newcheck.
Kyle Newcheck. Yeah. I just remember we were in that. Where were we shooting the mosquito stuff? We were shooting inside a church, like an actual church. Like there was the basement of a church. This was all a real house, right, Kayvan? Like this was all you guys were shooting on location, I think, because I came to the house one day to visit, but I didn't know if all the rooms were like. Because sometimes we build rooms to like match the locations, but this was all one house.
This was a real house. This was the first episode that we shot, actually.
Yeah, it was still.
These guys are all great.
Cold. This is so great. It was fall. It was crisp, and it wasn't freezing yet. It was early October, right? Yeah, it was early October. We shot this.
Yeah, it was just getting a little nippy.
I like it around that time. We shoot in Toronto, and the leaves are, changing. It looks pretty, but it only lasts for like a week, and then it gets really cold after.
Yeah,
great time to be in Toronto. I do love this. I do love the scene of just punching through a wall. Like that
is cool.
Tossing a room is one thing, but then escalating it straight to punching through a wall is pretty wonderful.
I love the way Tasha says, "Mama, mama." Mama.
Oh, these guys! Listen, these guys were so great. And actually, I thought one of the guys looked exactly like Mike Myers. This guy.
That guy?
Yeah, he looks like Mike Myers.
He does.
Anthony. He thought he was coming back for a whole season.
And so brain scramblies.
Yeah.
I do love the artwork is incredible that they cut away to.
Yeah. All like the art that's like
I'm there. Like,
I also love when fans go and find the
how
original.
long does it
like,
take for you to make all of that?
He's doing it right now.
Yeah, I've got a couple for the new season. I can't show any.
If there's one with an interrupting guy with a mustache, I'll know that it was me.
Listen, I'm sorry. Did I hurt your feelings? Do you want me to say sorry? I'm not going to.
The highlight of my day so far, man.
Oh my gosh.
It's entirely the internet's fault.
Mm-hmm.
They go and find the actual art that we use. Sometimes you see like Natasha in the opening credits is like a woman with a basket and she's like she's sitting and it's like a gold background. That's an actual painting, and like, fans go and find the original artwork. They like match them up.
The thing is, when he's rattling off all these nicknames for Sean, like Rotten Soldier and everything, and Sweet Cheese, did he do that for like 40 minutes?
Yeah, that was some Matt Berry magic there. Yeah, he's so great at just like reeling off these Laszlo-isms. And yeah, Rotten Soldier got everyone quite badly. It was very funny to witness. Yeah, I love it when those improvised moments end up in the actual show. I can't say that any of my improvised moments have made it in, but I live in hope. I do these like 3-hour improvisations, and then I suddenly remember that the shows are 17 minutes long. It's like, of course they're not gonna fucking still be in. Oh god.
We had one take in season 1 that was gonna be only like 12 seconds, like in the show, and we riffed for like 26 minutes, and we knew it was gonna make it. Like, but we didn't. No one stopped us. Like it went for 20 minutes, and no one said anything. There's Beanie.
Just one of those.
Oh, Beanie.
I think we
smooth.
tried to get Beanie back, but she was crazy busy this season. I think we shoot later in the year, so it's towards the holidays and people are out of town.
Yeah,
so
it was
kind of hard to get.
It was a hard no. It was a hard no.
Beanie, we'd love for you to cut. That's gonna be a no for me.
Beanie, do you want to down, 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 down,
down, down, down, down, down.
Well, this sequence here of giving Sean one last amazing night is just like, this is the kind of monsters you guys are. Like, just totally oblivious to what you're doing to this poor man.
Oh wow.
Have you guys seen these episodes?
Oh, this was another kind of like Natasha going wild up there. It was very, very funny to see this. Was you wow? It was really funny. This scene, I remember I was worried my hair would be covering my face, and I was right. It's the wind. Oh, the dogs! Those are real dogs, not CGI.
Those are real dogs that we got from the pound.
Trained?
And let them loose. Those aren't trained dogs. Those are real dogs from the pound.
Caged dogs. That was
very
they opened the cage.
They were starved for 3 days before it released.
Veronica!
I love working with Veronica. She's so funny. She's a local from Toronto, and she's great. I remember this was actually when we're shooting the scene, this was the first scene, me crying, that Kyle's like, hey, try one where you're crying, and I was like, for the scenes, like, yeah, try it, and I was like, okay, because it's getting to him.
I love
and it's great seeing that transition you were talking about earlier about two different Guillermos, right? The Guillermo in the house and the Guillermo when it's just the crew. And
yeah, his work persona.
Who's the guy that is obsessed with sex? This guy.
Did we didn't really shoot this.
Did I meet him? I met.
Also, I want to point out, someone pointed out online that this is a single bow. And they're like, how did Guillermo shoot 3 bows out of that one single shoot? And I was like, you shut your mouth. Oh, look at, and this part right here, the door wouldn't open, and and we kept rolling. Like, he's like, you're a mighty cool dude, Guillermo. And the door wouldn't open. And when it finally did, I couldn't stop it. So this wasn't scripted. And
that's incredible.
I didn't let go, and I just held on to it.
It's just, and it's such a perfect, it's such a perfect Guillermo thing to do too, because you've just like, you're skilled with the SIBO, and then you can't even open a door. Like, it's great.
It was so perfect, and then it dragged me for a while. They cut it, but it dragged me like for a good minute.
Okay, hush now. It's my beat.
Oh, right.
Your head-ripping gloves.
You know her?
She's your wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wish.
Mama Lucia.
The ending. The ending to this changed slightly because he got his barbecue out, and there was a chicken in there, and I thought it was the owl, and I was like, the superb owl, they've slaughtered it. But then they rewrote the whole ending, and I didn't get my.
You could have just improv'd it back in.
I just did.
Just did.
Now everyone knows.
Everyone knows.
You're not my friend.
You're not my best friend. You're just an actor.
You're just an actor.
Oh!
Come on, Colin Anderson. We're off.
Hold on a minute. I may have overdone it. This one.
Okay, we got that. Harvey, we got that. Cut.
So all in all, I would say our first superb power celebration was a market success.
You're gonna knock your laptop over again. Be careful.
Oh, we missed the finale of the show.
There's another scene. One more scene coming up. We're not quite done with it.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna find the most serious possible question to ask you guys after this too.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Oh man, get me back to Toronto. I'm ready, man. Harvey, are you ready? I'm fucking ready.
I'm ready, baby.
I gotta tell you guys,
exactly what happened.
in talking with all you guys, and like it really does my heart good to see one of my favorite shows on TV that you guys actually. It seems like you enjoy making it. It seems like you're actually having fun.
This is exactly how it is on set.
Which
with
is
Kayvan
good
and
news
I.
to
Like,
me.
it's
Yeah.
just, it's Kayvan doing like sketches and me crying on the floor and holding my stomach and thinking I'm gonna throw up my lunch.
One of the questions that we asked in the first half of this is, I would love to get you guys' input on it too. Which member of the cast is easiest to break character, to make break character?
Kayvan.
You think?
Kayvan, because he's so if I break character, it's through Kayvan, because Kayvan breaks his character 3 times in a row. Like, he'll be like, all right, let me do it again. I don't want and he'll like break his own character, and then it makes me laugh in return, and then he'll do it again. So he'll do like 3 takes back to back, and then eventually just goes, oh, Javi's gonna fucking kill me. Javi hates me. When we shot the promo for the show, we had like 5 or 4 minutes to shoot this scene, and Kayvan kept ad-libbing, and it was funny, but he was laughing at his ad-lib. So I was straight faced Guillermo, trying not to laugh, and he's laughing at his own ad-lib, and I was like, stop, because then we're not gonna get the shot, and then we're not gonna. And then eventually when he did he sounds like a rock star. What is that? That move was not in the script in the commercial. And he's like, what's that thing Guillermo? And he goes, like that. And I'm like, no. That part. And then they cut it right there, because then I broke character and I couldn't stop laughing for like 5 minutes. And we were out of time and we had to go home.
That was it.
And that was the day.
Oh.
That was the day. So I would say,
well, we gotta
to answer your question.
Kayvan, go ahead. Well, we have a few other questions if you guys want to stick around for just another minute to answer some of these.
Yeah.
One that came in. You good? You gonna leave? Okay, great. Thank you for being here.
See ya.
So, Mr. Gentleman Sir, who's watching on IGN's YouTube, has a question for you guys. Have you ever read any Shadows fan fiction?
No.
I
didn't know
heard
it
about
existed.
something. I've heard of it. Someone sent me one, and it was very homoerotic. And I was just like, it's like this sounds like a porn. But there's tons of it apparently. I didn't know about it until recently when people were saying, have you checked this out on Reddit? And I was like, no. And I finally, but there's tons of artwork. I'm more into the art. Like, people are really talented artists out there. So that's more my vibe. I look at the art, but I'm sure there's great stories. Kayvan, have you read any good fan fiction?
I haven't, but I can imagine the kind of fan fiction that's being written about us and everyone. I mean,
yeah.
Let's not get into detail. This is a family show, but the fan art I love. I absolutely love it. And actually, Harvey, are you still doing Fan Art Friday?
I do. Every Friday I do Fan Art Friday, and like every week there's just so many. Like, it's overwhelming how like talented
Pictures of you.
It's overwhelming how many. Well, the pictures of me are like pretty simple. Guillermo's either just in a sweater vest and glasses, but the vampire stuff is really cool. I like when they do different kinds of art. Like someone did, crochet, or they do a doll. Someone did a Naja doll, and I posted it. It was like paper mache doll, and it looked like a
really?
doll, like a big one that you carry with both hands, and it's like like a Naja
wow.
doll, which was really cool. So I promote all kinds of art. Artists supporting artists.
There you go. Here's another question from. This is also from Mr. Gentleman Sir. Congratulations, you're getting two questions on the show.
Thank you, Mr. Gentleman Sir.
Mr. Gentleman Sir. We never get to see.
Is
Nandor
Mr. Gentleman Sir the only person watching this?
No.
Yeah.
No, it was a complete accident. I'll get one from somebody else to wrap up after this one. But I do like this question. We never get to see.
Really mad.
I'll have to reach out to him personally. We'll see if we can get him on the show.
Mr. Gentleman Sir sounds like the kind of online viewer that watches shit online completely naked with a cock ring.
And that's going to do it for us.
Okay, what was the question?
Well, now I have to ask this question.
So Mr. Gentleman Sir.
God.
We never get to see Nandor eat. We never get to see Nandor eat any humans or do any violence on the show. Is that intentional? And would you like to see more actual violence from Nandor the Relentless in season 3?
Well,
he does.
That's a good question.
He snaps Haley Joel Osment's head, right?
That's true. Yeah,
that was the first,
and that
thing
was a really
Mr. Gentleman
surprising
Sir.
thing that happened.
Mr. Gentleman Sir, you're not caught up then.
Get that cock ring away from me.
Okay, Mr. Gentleman Sir, go.
Mr. Gentleman Sir. You didn't watch the Tofferino episode, did you, Mr. Gentleman Sir? No, you were adjusting your cock ring. Oh, fuck.
Man.
Next question.
I think that was a good enough answer. Here comes one from Beatmaster, who's watching on Cinefix.
Beatmaster.
Beatmaster, like it's somewhere in the same neighborhood as Mr. Gentleman Sir.
Beat Monster? What was the name?
Master.
Beatmaster.
Oh, God.
Presumably a master of beats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, this one will put you on the spot. But who's been your favorite guest star so far? You guys had so many cool guest stars on this show. Which has been your favorite?
For me, Benny and Haley, I'd say. Benny Wong and Haley Joel Osment were wonderful. But I mean, they're all been brilliant.
I'd say Mark Hamill and Haley.
Oh my God, of course, Mark Hamill.
Yeah. You're out.
Of course.
You blew it.
I'd say Haley, because I got to do all first episode with him, and he's so nice and awesome and so talented. And then Mark Hamill, because Mark Hamill, a walking legend, to come and play on the show was pretty surreal.
It was a dream.
Well, cool. Thanks, guys, for being here. One more question just before we go. And we talked a lot about the Nandor and Guillermo kind of dynamic on the show. Where do you guys want it to go in season 3? Is there any part of it you want to see more of?
Well, I like to do more of what Kayvan said, find out how they met. How did they meet? How did he apply for this job? How did he acquire, how did he get where he's at now? How did it all begin? Would be great to know a little bit of a backstory and see how that relationship evolved in the decade or 11 years now. So how did it happen? That's what I would like.
Yeah, I think that feels like a fertile. I mean, they kind of go back in time with the pictures and stuff, but actually to explore that, because I think we've kind of made up and broken up. But again, actually, having said that, I would say that, you know, the season ended on a bombshell, if I can say that. And as Nandor, I'm like, Guillermo is forever changed in my eyes. Like, he's not the same Guillermo. The Guillermo that I thought I knew is no more. And actually, that for me, I remember that when we filmed it, I felt kind of sad for Nandor. I was like, things will never be the same again. So I think that presents a very exciting premise for season 3, 4, 5, 6. But I love it when, you know, you establish characters and then you go back in time and you meet them before. Like, that's always, I find that highly entertaining, and it can be done so well. And I think this is the kind of show that could absolutely nail that kind of story, where we do go back in time and we meet the characters before. I think that would be mouthwatering to not only to play, but also for the fans. I think they'd love it too.
Yeah, I just think that there's no denying that, you know, these two characters are like, their chemistry, like they just mesh so well together. And it's just like, it's nice to, you know, it's nice to do the part of Guillermo and be with Kayvan, you know, plays Nandor, but like, it's so nice to see them together, because it's like, I like the way the characters bounce off each other. It's just like, it's rare, and I like it.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you again so much for being here. It was a real pleasure interrupting you.
Yeah.
For the course of an episode.
That's
Let me just clumsily segue out of this episode. But seriously, thank you again for being here. And everybody, thank you at home for watching.
Thank you so
keep
much.
watching
Thanks,
what we do in the
everyone.
shadows.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys next time on Watch From Home Theater.